I don't know if the next topic is going to lighten the mood or not. Anybody in here willing to admit that they get annoyed when a baby sits next to them on a plane? Sir? Oh, come on, stand up. What do you have against babies? My child is backstage listening. What do you have against?
I don't have anything against children in general, but like
in general.
I personally like to sleep on a plane, and usually that gets a little bit in the way. The noise, the crying, you know, there's a lot of pressure from...
You're cutting me deep with this right now.
Oh,
You know?
oh no.
All right, well, I do understand. Even before I had a child, I have to admit, I was never annoyed, but I understand how people see a baby on a plane, you want to sleep, and you cringe. Well, there may be a solution for you, sir. Japan Airlines has a new feature that shows you where infants are seated before you book. So you go on, and this is so messed up. There's a child icon above the seats where children up to 2 years old will sit. So you look at the, when you're booking your flight, you're like, oh, the green zone, stay out. Joining us now is former flight attendant and host of the Jet Set, Bobby Laurie. He's standing by here. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
I sat next to a man recently who snored so loud, I felt like I should marry him. I'm like, if I have to hear some man snore this loud, we need to be married to each other. If we can put up with other behavior, what's the big deal about infants?
You know, there's a lot of business travelers nowadays that are landing after a red-eye flight and going straight to work. So some of these airlines are trying to come up with ways to make sure that those passengers that are usually paying the most arrive rested, whereas they're not really paying attention to, you know, what the parents are going through when they board with their child.
Well, okay, so here's the deal, though. If you corral all the infants into one area, they're just going to feed off each other, and next thing you know, they're going to be a squad of children, walk on the plane.
You know, there's actually a couple airlines that have quiet zones. It's a couple of rows of the aircraft that are sectioned off, and children are not allowed to sit there. So it's almost like, you know, like a personal zone, no children allowed. But I can think of a lot of different things that we would want to avoid on an airplane. You know, people take their shoes and socks off.
Yes!
Like, can they check that box so we can avoid them?
That's my thing. People taking their shoes off, their nasty feet on my chair. The people behind me who thought that if they were on a party cruise, turned up drunk. I mean, look at me following my green. What about that?
I mean, I agree. And, you know, as a former flight attendant, you know, when we would get the complaints from the passengers about, say, crying babies, it puts the flight attendants in a very awkward position, because now you're going over to the parent and saying, oh, is there anything I can do to help?
Right.
And now they're offended because they're thinking that we're telling them, you're failing right now. How can we help you?
But that's the thing. I mean, when I first flew with Moses, I read that George and Amal Clooney took like little bottles of tequila and gave it. I'm like, that could get expensive.
It can. And, you know, there actually have been parents that have passed out gift bags with earplugs and snacks, like kind of like a pre-apology for what's about to happen. But
okay,
now,
this lady, please speak for me, ma'am. I'm a biased couple. I have an infant, and I just feel like I shouldn't have to bribe you, but you clearly have to stand up in your shawl. I love to say you didn't dress up this way for nothing. I love it. What's your name?
Dina.
Dina, what are your thoughts?
I first, when I heard about it, I thought it was a good idea, but as you're speaking, I'm thinking there are a lot more things that would bother me on an airline than a crying child.
Yeah. I'm with you.
The snoring, and also the person next to me who falls asleep and then their head is on my shoulder, that is like, no.